You are watching the Tuesday night edition of Chicago Corner. Woo!
Hello, hi, welcome to Taco Tuesday. Who wants a taco? Yeah, I know. Tacos, go crazy. All right, everyone, act normal. Perfect. Now, everybody say,
oh my God! It's Taco Tuesday!
Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome. Hold on a second. Welcome to another Taco Tuesday on Chicago Corner. I am deep dish pizza enthusiast Edward Heller. To the left of me, no, to the right of me is inflatable meat wad. And we got some stuff to talk about today. But first, I got to finish chewing. Hold on a second. Okay. All right, let me put this down and get serious for a minute here. Yeah, where are the wings? Well, it looks like Kim Foxx is not going to be trying to answer that question unless she's going to try to get to the bottom of that by November. And wait, that isn't it. That's the wrong link. Hold on a second. That's Inception. Hold on. What am I doing here? It's got to be this one. Ah, yes. Here we go.
And so I am announcing today that at the conclusion of my term in November of 2024, I will be stepping down as state's attorney.
Okay. And joining me this evening, ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Vasilatos, or is that Bruce Wayne? It's hard to tell.
I thought you were introducing me as the inflatable meat wad for a moment.
I'm not even high, but that's funny.
Hello.
Speaking of, yes, how's it going, Jerry?
Speaking of inflatable meat wads.
Speaking of hi to everyone in the live chat. I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters who we listed at the beginning of the show. If you would like to support this craziness that we do here, and also the seriousness and really just making Oreo the cat happy, support us at patreon.com/Chicago Corner.
Oreo approves.
And Oreo approves. So
yeah, Kim Foxx is on her way out. I mean, we're still stuck with her for a while, and we got. I mean, I have mixed feelings about it that we'll get into, but it was. Are we going to play the entire?
I got a couple clips, and there's a couple articles. I don't know how much of it we want to go through, but we'll try and get through a little bit of it, just because I know we'll have our own comments on what she said in there. But let's finish her announcement here, which actually came at the end of her conference, but we're going to play that first.
You know, before you play her, though, it's interesting the tear. You know, she's certainly quite emotional about this. I have no doubt that she's very dedicated and committed to her job, despite the fact many people think she's mishandled it. But I would think this might be a relief for her to, you know, kind of step aside, especially in light of how people are trying to brand Johnson with this label that because of her previous mismanagement, that same cycle is going to continue. I think that it's a good thing. There's going to be a clean sweep in his administration, but that's as much as I can say right now.
Yeah. And getting back to the live chat, welcome, Extra Bulla. Warren, it's good to see you. Arturo, it's good to see you too. Extra Bulla wants to donate 43 cents. I think the minimum is $1, but you can try.
Why the 43 cents, Warren? What's the significance of that? I'm sure I'm like missing something topical.
I don't know if it's anything in particular other than it's probably all he's got left in his pocket change right now.
Until he starts his new job, which I'm very excited to hear about, Warren. Congratulations on that. We wish you nothing but the best.
Yes. And he adds, Inflatable Meatwad was a Japanese hentai character I played back in the 90s. Oh, boy.
Yeah, I saw that, Art. Art, speaking of Bruce Wayne, the new Flash trailer premiered today, which looks pretty cool. It's on YouTube. Don't go now, but check it out later. I got mixed feelings about the Flash movie, but that's a conversation maybe for the end of the show when we talk about movies.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's I'm going to rewind a few seconds. Well, I guess I'll just start from the beginning again. Okay. We can get the whole thing here.
And so I am announcing today.
That kind of seems fake, though, doesn't it?
Announcing.
What, you think it's crocodile tears?
Yeah, it kind of seems like it. I mean, she's not. I mean, if it is, she's not a great actress. I don't know, man.
She is a lawyer.
I've never seen her emotional before. That's why it kind of feels forced. I mean, I've always seen her very professional and not emotional. So I would think even in a moment like this, might be kind of like she's playing to the cameras. But I guess it's just the cynical side of me.
All morning, it's like all the news outlets were saying she was getting ready to announce that she's not going to run again, except they said, we've got sources saying it. I asked, is one of those sources Kim Foxx, or are you guys jumping the gun on this?
I did see your comment on Twitter. I don't think they were jumping the gun so much. I'm sure that there was probably some inside, and when I say inside, maybe inside her office or inside City Hall, that kind of leaked it a little bit for people to be prepared for it, because I don't think they set her up to like have to step forward and make a statement one way or the other. But that's just the nature of news. Everybody wants to like break the story.
Yeah, they all want the scoop, but also to that end, it's like she wanted to make sure that this was the biggest spectacle possible. So like, it wouldn't shock me at all if she was leaking, but didn't want anybody to know that it was her leaking it.
That's true. Yeah,
it's like they knew she was going to be speaking at the City Club, which everybody speaks at the City Club apparently. In the city of Chicago, except us. We haven't spoken there yet.
Not yet. I wonder where. I think our invite's been lost in the mail.
Yeah.
Because we got a lot to say.
We often have much to say, Mr. Vasilatos.
We do.
Let's play the rest.
Sometimes I'm told too much, but I'm working on that.
In November of 2024, I will be stepping down as state's attorney. I will not be on next year's ballot by my choice.
Pause it for a sec.
Decision I didn't take.
I wonder about that.
She wanted to make it absolutely clear that she was not being pushed out.
Let's take a moment to talk about this, okay?
Which signals to me that maybe she was getting pushed out.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. I have a source inside the state's attorney's office, the public defender's department. And as Brandon Johnson was running, we talked politics quite a bit. And I said, one of my only, not hesitations, but one of my only issues with Brandon Johnson was that he seemed to embrace Kim Foxx a lot, given the fact that there's been some mismanagement from her office. And, you can look at that one way or the other. But my source said, it wasn't so much about Brandon Johnson wanting to embrace her as much as she was one of Tony Preckwinkle's people. Tony Preckwinkle was supporting and very very aggressively supporting and endorsing Johnson. So it was politics. I have no doubt he's probably friendly with her, but as far as wanting to keep her, I think that he was making nice with her, knowing what the landscape was going to be here, that as he moves forward, there's got to be a clean house here. So I think that she's saving face. My personal opinion is that I think she's saving face. I think that even before the election, there was talk about we really need a new faces, new administration there.
And I think it's also a mixed bag of reasons for her too. I mean, there clearly were people on the right end of the duopoly spectrum that were basically just giving her crap constantly because they were either pro-cop or, let's just say it, racist. And so there has to be that element of that in there, along with the things that we noticed that seem to be conflicts of interest, where she may have not felt that they were, or acted as if there were not conflicts, like the fact that she's besties with Kamala Harris.
That's a big liability, absolutely.
And how that all went down with their relationship or with Jussie Smollett and his what do you call that? His court case and the timing of that event that he staged, with some legal stuff going on in Congress regarding the the anti-lynching legislation that VP Harris at the time, and I believe Cory Booker was the other one, that were trying to pass at the time. So
Booker the Hooker.
Now we don't have 100% proof here, but the timing and the coincidences just make it seem like he was put up to that by somebody and then decided that he wasn't going to snitch.
I don't know that I think someone put him up to it so much, Ed, as much as he has such a narcissistic attitude that he figured this is something he could do maybe to win favor without
just
actually
to get attention.
To get attention. Yeah, because the fact that he's doubled down and he still doesn't seem to have any self-awareness that everybody knows he's a phony. And, let's also look at the Chicago Police Department. Isn't it interesting how quickly they were able to clear up their books on that and investigate it, where other crimes aren't solved as quickly or as much attention isn't put on them because, CPD has their agenda as well. But the fact that she did not treat him as she should treat any offender, whether they're a celebrity or not, just speaks volumes to, in my opinion, this pattern amongst politicians to give a pass to those that think they're above the law, think that they live by a different set of rules. That should have never been applied to him. It was very clear what he did. He wasted a lot of people's time. He made it worse for people who potentially would be victims of hate crimes. Now it's the boy who cried wolf story. Well, if somebody steps forward who really was the victim of a violent race crime or any crime, and everyone's like, oh, this reminds us of Jussie Smollett, and they're not going to take them seriously. So it was quite a disservice for, number one, for him to pull that, number two, for her to enable him and not throw the book at him so that people would understand there's no tolerance for people who abuse their status as celebrities or otherwise to get attention at the expense of potentially endangering other people's lives in the future.
Yeah. And in my show notes, I've got two articles related to this. One of them is from Block Club, and the other one is from The Tribe. And The Tribe has a lot of good points to make, and we may get into that in a little bit. But I think I want to get through these video clips first before we dig into either of those articles.
Okay.
So let's see if we can finish the first one.
Yeah, sorry.
Which was only 51 seconds.
Take it lightly. With Jose and Adolfo and Clarissa and Tyshawn Lee and Commander Bauer and the names of whom I didn't name today in my heart.
Okay, I know I'm pausing it this time, but this time it's like you see how YouTube does that thing where they put up a little video thumbnail and and there he is in the corner. You can't get away from him.
No,
And clearly they put that as the next suggested video on purpose.
Of course.
But it's time.
Watch breaking news on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Thanks, ABC. All right, I'm flipping to now we're flipping to an NBC clip, but really all the networks were covering this earlier today. And believe it or not, while it was live, the only network that actually had good audio was Fox 32. But their stream cut out early, which I'm slightly amused by, and also it makes me feel better because of sometimes we have issues with our stream, and I'm like, well, at least the big guys are having problems too. But here's Kim Foxx basically addressing what she calls the elephant in the room.
I'll just address the elephant in the room. People ask me a lot about one case. I'm gonna let you guess.
Is it the chicken wing case? 11,000 cases of chicken wings. Where are they, Kim?
They ask me over and over again, State's Attorney Foxx, do you have any regrets about the Class 4 non-violent felony against a D-list actor who committed a crime against himself?
Quite a moment for comedy with everything else that's falling apart here, right?
Yeah, and she's super annoyed, and you can tell because she does this thing where she takes her tongue and puts it like between the top of her teeth and her upper lip, like she's trying to get, like she's got lipstick up there.
Yeah.
State's Attorney Foxx, surely you must have an answer for why we spent a year and a half and special prosecutors and thousands upon thousands of dollars trying to determine why this person didn't go to jail for a Class 4 non-violent felony for a crime he committed on himself.
Oh, no, stop it. She completely disregards everything we just said about how other potential victims of crimes are going to be marginalized and disregarded and potentially not believed.
Yeah, but also all those things she just said are relevant. It's like, why did you waste all that time and resources?
Yeah.
This was, I mean, come on.
Okay, by the way,
yeah, I'll pause.
I finally figured out how to integrate dark mode in my StreamYard so my face isn't blown out. We finally have better production values with the lighting.
Dark mode?
Yeah, so you don't have like the bright StreamYard in your face. Now it's dark gray. So the lighting
is something I can do on the fly here. Let me see if I can.
You need a Chrome install, but I'll send it to you.
Oh, there's a plugin extension. Yeah. Oh, okay.
I just realized I clicked it on, and it's like, oh, the lighting's finally better. By the way,
that might make it darker in here if I don't have that white stuff hitting me in the face here. But from all the white background on this streaming software.
How about that nice seamless intro? We didn't have any hiccups. Did you like that, Ed? Did I fix that?
That was pretty good, although I think I want to update my Taco Tuesday. I'm going to have to look for some more content and maybe grab a few things out of some other shows.
Cool.
Maybe look for some additional taco-related and themed content. And if any of you are aware of any taco-themed content that you think I should include as an element of the Taco Tuesday Open, by all means, send a message to Jerry at chicagocorner.tv.
Oh, Ed, you all we need to do is download this show and just take the front end of you stuffing your mouth as quietly as the show starts.
Actually, I mean, we can hold on a second.
Repeat that.
Let me take all of this stuff off really quick. I'll be right back, Jerry. Okay.
That's terrifying.
Okay.
You look like
enough.
You look like a kaiju, just like over the city. We needed to put a cityscape underneath you. Skyline.
I know. But look, it's Taco Tuesday, Jerry. You gotta eat tacos on Taco Tuesday. And so now, with all the food in my mouth, we're going to continue.
Surely, State's Attorney Foxx, you know that has caused shame and embarrassment to our criminal justice system. Surely, State's Attorney Foxx, you know we are all embarrassed. Mark Clark, Fred Hampton, 1969.
I wanted to pause that because she's right about priorities and what and the differences between what we're doing now in the state's attorney office versus what they were doing when when her office, not when she wasn't there, was coordinating with the FBI and the Chicago police to take out Fred Hampton. So she is acknowledging that they have come quite leaps and bounds from where they started, but we all know we still have a long way to go.
Long way to go. Look at her stance there. She's just no nonsense. You know, her haughtiness and her arrogance, unfortunately, reminds me of AOC, as we've seen on social media the past couple of days, as she's been smug about. I'm no fan of Tucker Carlson, but just the haughtiness and arrogance of some of our public officials rubs me the wrong way.
I mean, some of it is the defense mechanism, and some of it is clearly she had a rant coming, and this was her opportunity to do it before she had to get back to business as usual before the end of her term. And since she's in the city club and everybody's got their eyes on her, she's gonna say her piece.
She's gonna play. Right? She's playing to the cameras.
So, but we all know she's a lawyer, and lawyers are actors.
Yeah, that's true.
And so even if she means everything that she's saying up here, or if she believes that everything she's saying is justified and true, and I'm not going to judge as far as that goes because I don't know all the ins and outs of all the stuff she's had to deal with over the years. We only know what we know from the news stories and the events that have happened and things that have occurred based on the actions of her office. So she's going to be a little defensive, obviously, and she knows. And again, I think she's being pushed out, even though she says it's her decision.
Yeah, and I think that was decided before Brandon Johnson won. Personally, I think that, or if it wasn't decided, I sense that there was probably some internal assessment that needed to happen, because otherwise Johnson would be saddled with, oh, you're just continuing with someone who caused problems during Lightfoot's administration. And you know, it's really funny too. We talked about this before the show. I was watching chatter on Twitter today. The Chicago Contrarian, they're all still complaining about her. It's like, take the win. She's going to be leaving. Take the win. Stop criticizing her. There was a lot to criticize her about before. She's going to be gone. But you know why they can't take the win, Brandon? Because they were expecting and hoping that she would be a millstone around Brandon Johnson's neck to continue the narratives that they were pushing for their own agenda. Which
right, and then when she's gone, they won't have her to kick around anymore.
Exactly, or saddle with Brandon Johnson, the path that Brandon Johnson takes.
Yeah, it's interesting. We have the opportunity here to try and connect the dots and see patterns. Yeah. And a lot of these are going to be things that other people in the media are going to choose not even to mention.
Right.
I mean, I'm not here to judge where we put our priorities, but the fact that I have been asked and that more ink has been spilled by editorial pages and newspapers and reporters that probably when I leave this earth, my epitaph, my obituary will mention Jussie Smollett makes me mad.
Pause it for a second. I think her epitaph when she's gone should be like, what was behind that domestic violence report that happened in her house when she apparently like beat up her husband?
When he called the police on her?
Yeah. That and what's the other thing? That and yeah, I mean, I think that to me is what I want to know about.
It makes me mad.
Oh, wait, hold on. Before we continue, we got breaking news. Kathy had a taco salad today for lunch. So thank you for participating in Taco Tuesday, Kathy. And thanks for continuing to support Chicago Corner and watching the program. We appreciate you and every one of the people watching us on Chicago Corner. And we hope that you'll tune in every Tuesday and Friday evening. As long as we're able to keep doing it, we'd like to be doing it for you.
Charlie Lewis from Sunday here.
Oh, what the hell? Okay, I'm going to take that off the screen while I figure out why the hell it's playing an ad in the middle of the thing here. But until then, let's jump into the chat for a second here. Who else is in here? Eric, welcome to the show. Ware Pilgrim, good to see you. We said hi to Arturo.
She does. She did feel like she's doing an SNL sketch. He makes a good point here.
Yeah,
it was like she was doing her stand-up on a TV program.
Let's see if I can get this thing.
We have a unidentified Facebook user that says, hey. I wish Facebook would identify who's who, but I guess the StreamYard integration doesn't carry that over. So whoever Facebook user is that says, hey, welcome, let us know who you are.
I think that might have been the end of the clip, but let's make sure.
Mad. It makes me mad.
Oh, that's where they ended the clip. Okay. All right. I think there was one more clip. Did I have one more clip? Yes, I did have one more clip. And apparently she has advice or had advice for Brandon Johnson.
I will be honest. I told Mayor-elect Johnson that as a Black man in leadership, that his role would be very difficult. I told Mayor-elect Johnson that I saw that despite the fact that he had yet to put his hand on the Bible, that doesn't happen to May 15th, he was somehow responsible for violence in our communities.
That's a good point.
Crazy. What didn't seem crazy was that it was a Black man taking on a role in a city that has not fully acknowledged or reckoned with its history of racism and what it does to Black leaders. And I told him, if anything that he saw in my leadership, because I would imagine that it has not been easy.
Can you pause it for a second? Yeah, there are a lot of racists who criticize her, but let's make no mistake. Whatever her race is, she still bungled a lot. Okay, she's bungled a lot. And the go-to of like, well, this is all the criticism comes because of racism. That's not the be-all and end-all, man. I mean, we're the most ardent supporters and critics of, ardent critics of those who use identity politics to and racism to dismiss and marginalize people, but for them, Lori Lightfoot used to do this too. Oh, they don't like me because I'm a Black lesbian. It's like, no, you're a bad leader. This has nothing to do with your identity. So I just wish in this day and age, people would just stop that and just look at what the person's performance is, regardless of what the color of their skin is or any of this other identity nonsense.
Yeah, that said, I think what she has to say here is relevant and important, and I don't fault her at all for saying what she's about to say here. Because again, like I brought it up a little earlier in the show today.
Kathy, I can't stand incompetent women in power. Okay, I'm criticizing Kim Foxx because I think that she bungled a lot. I think that Rahm Emanuel bungled a lot. I think that Richie Daley bungled a lot. I could care less what her sex or gender is. Okay, let's stop with the. Yeah, there are some people who are like that, no question. And I'm not mansplaining either. Let me take a moment here, Ed. It's
let's be clear. Let's be absolutely clear. He's Jerry-splaining. It's a totally different phenomena.
That's true. I like that, Jerry-splaining. But honestly, yeah, there are people who quote unquote mansplain, but people also use that to marginalize and shut people down who are not mansplaining at all. And I'm so tired of walking through minefields. What can I say? What will be listened to? What will be considered? Everything I say, I don't expect everybody to agree with, but I just don't like it when everybody thinks that if you have an opinion, it's because you're mansplaining or because, you're criticizing them because of their race. It's like, no, man, there's other issues that are part of this also. And that stuff to me is irrelevant, but too many people grab that to dismiss people's legitimate criticisms. Okay, so I need to hear it as a woman here. What did I say, Kathy, that sounds like I'm mansplaining Kim Foxx? I guess if you explain to me, I can understand what you mean by that. I didn't realize I said anything about Kim Foxx that was mansplaining as we were talking about her speech here. But
it's a difficult concept because we're two dudes on a show. And so we're going to have a dude's point of view on things regardless.
But I don't think it's gender. I don't think it's not commentary is not gender directed, Ed.
Yeah, and it's not based in any need for superiority or anything like that. So it's just, here's the situation. This is how we see it. So other than Juicy, what did she do? There were a lot of repeat offenders and other people who were given bail or put on monitoring, and then they lost track of the monitoring, or they ended up doing additional crimes of
violent offenses. That's my criticism with her. Yeah, because of all that.
I don't have the specifics in my memory hole, but we had reported on them in past episodes.
Yes, we did. And a 2-year stretch there of going through our stories to see when we were talking about repeat violent offenders who should have never. That was also the judge's faults, though. Unfortunately,
it's not entirely laid at her feet. It's just that, when you're the head of any department, the buck stops with you. Right?
Exactly.
So you have to see that as well. And so I don't feel like it's mansplaining to say that a person in charge of a department is responsible for the actions that happened while she was in charge, or he, or whoever.
I mean, we're saying the same thing about here's a great pivot, right? Yeah. And we'll talk about this in a little while. Paul Vallis. How many people are defending him now because Enya took his money? Well, he just wants his money back to pay his other bills. Oh, really? You don't see that shows he was a completely bungling leader, that he would have completely bungled things in city government had he been elected mayor? You can't have it both ways. And they said, one person said to me, well, it was his campaign manager's fault. Really? He delegated to a campaign manager, Paul Vallis. If he did not choose the right campaign manager, that's Paul Vallis's fault. It's not the campaign manager's fault. So to Ed's point, the buck stops at the top. When you delegate and you select people underneath you that bungle things, ultimately, if you're at the top, you got to have some accountability for that. So it goes all ways, not just with Kim Foxx. I just think it's hilarious now, all of Paul Vallis's defenders, claiming that it wasn't his fault all this happened. He wasn't, wasn't his job. It's like, no, it's definitely part of his job. He chose the people to do the job. And that reflects on how badly he would have chosen people had he won. I
was going to talk about that a little later in the show. We're still going to talk about Paul Vallis because it's the ultimate in irony because of the way his campaign touted his expertise as a super business dude.
Kira's in the chat. Hey, Kira.
Hey, glad to see Kira.
Yeah, and she is right about that.
Yeah.
We were talking about this last week, all the stuff that happened downtown. They're laying it at Johnson's feet. It's like the guy hasn't even been sworn in yet. And they're trying to throw it around his neck, as they were hoping that Kim Foxx would stay in her position so that they could, use that as a way to attack him also.
I'm going to start this video from the beginning again because I just want to play it all the way through.
Okay.
I will be honest. I told Mayor-elect Johnson that as a Black man in leadership, that his role would be very difficult. I told Mayor-elect Johnson that I saw that despite the fact that he had yet to put his hand on the Bible, that doesn't happen till May 15th, he was somehow responsible for violence in our communities. That seemed crazy to me. What didn't seem crazy was that it was a Black man taking on a role in a city that has not fully acknowledged or reckoned with its history of racism and what it does to Black leaders. And I told him, if anything that he saw in my leadership, because I would imagine you know that it has not been easy, is that you have to keep going, but know it's coming. And that his responsibility is to do the work with the full knowledge that it's not going to be fair. And a lot of folks in this room know that it's not going to be fair, but he has a job to do, and to elevate the voices of the people who put him there. Ken Griffin from 79th Street put him there. Elevate his voice and don't try to chase those who didn't.
I imagine she's talking about a different Ken Griffin.
Wow. But then she's also kind of that statement basically also claims, though, that like any criticism has an alternate agenda, and it's like, no, that's not true.
You can have that perspective, but I don't think it was intended that way. It's more about recognizing that there was, or still is, institutional racism going on in the city.
Yep.
And rather than let it, define you and beat you up, you have to try and overcome all the adversaries that are going to basically be coming after you. And so I recognize my privilege in this. I'm trying to understand without edsplaining too much. But I think she spoke well regarding that entire thing. I didn't have a huge problem with what she had to say there, because she was trying to be even keeled about the situation without being hyperbolic. At least that's the way I saw it.
But don't you think, Ed, that there's a complete lack of self-awareness when we're talking? The reason everybody gloms onto the Jussie Smollett situation is because she was friends with Kamala Harris or some other people in high positions in the Democratic Party. So there was a lot of nepotism going on there. So for her to like ignore and act like she doesn't understand why people would be critical of that, I think that speaks to her privilege as one of these politicians or elected leaders that don't feel they have to explain or be accountable for anything because they run in higher circles than the rest of us. I mean, that's why everybody glommed onto it. It's like, why is this guy getting a pass? Why is he getting special treatment? Oh, because you're friends with his aunt or Kamala Harris or whoever. There was a lot of questionable stuff going on behind the scenes there that I think was very, it stunk. Quite frankly, I just think it all stunk. And she didn't do herself any favors by giving special treatment there. And I think that she doesn't understand that it looks like she was giving him special treatment just speaks to why, a lot of people have some legitimate concerns with her leadership or how she mismanaged some things. But
yeah, I'm not sure which article I want to jump into here first. The Block Club article pretty much is quoting straight from her appearance today at City Club. So some of the stuff in there is that, along with her origin story. I guess we could talk about that for a second here. Pull that up here. Okay. All right. This is Block Club Chicago. Kelly Bauer Kim Foxx won't run for re-election and fires back at those blaming her for the crime spike. Foxx has been backed by progressive activists who saw her leadership as a turning point for the prosecutor's office, but she's also faced intense criticism as crime has surged in Chicago. Now, I've talked about this, that it's not just Chicago, okay? It's all the cities everywhere, and part of that surge has to do with the resurgence from how crime basically dropped everywhere during the lockdowns, for the most part. So, and they mentioned that here, but let's see. Start with
look, that second paragraph. Well, you go ahead and read it, then we'll talk about that second paragraph, because I think that's actually a very noble stance for her, having grown up in Cabrini Green. And let's talk about that after you read through it.
Yeah, Kathy, we will get to the Tribe article. I do want to read some of that because I think it actually covers a lot of a lot of her career that we really it's from a different perspective that a lot of people don't realize. It's not just all of the controversies that she's had to deal with, but it's also the attempts to revise and reform what her office does, which unfortunately get overshadowed by all of the controversies.
And by the way, Kathy, I voted for Kim Foxx, just as I voted for Lori Lightfoot. And we can see so much of a candidate when they run and their platform and what they say they're going to represent and what they say they're going to do. I think it's very noble to see that coming out of Cabrini Green, she has had a fantastic career. She's made something of herself. She wants to help people, but to the degree where, unfortunately, there were some lax policies in place or prosecutions that didn't really prevent some violent repeat offenders from getting out and hurting other people. Because, you want to give people the benefit of the doubt. You want to give people chances. You don't want to fill up the prison system, especially in light of how CPD's constant abuses. But, it's got to be evenly tempered. And I don't know that I feel that in her efforts to be empathetic and help people, that some people who were helped deserved being helped when they went out and committed other violent crimes and ended up, hurting other people. But
okay.
I'm
getting to the article. State's Attorney Kim Foxx is not running for re-election. Foxx made her announcement during a fiery off-the-cuff City Club of Chicago speech Tuesday. She praised her office for its reforms and criticized those who have blamed her tenure for violent crime in Chicago, and she directed particular ire at critics who said she tried to tie her to the Jussie Smollett. I don't know if I'm reading that right. At critics who she said tried to tie her to the Jussie Smollett scandal while she focused on freeing people who were wrongly convicted. Okay, those are good things. She was trying to free people who were wrongly convicted, and I believe a lot of people got freed who were wrongly convicted from the John Burge stuff, and I think there were a couple other bad apples, so to speak, in Chicago PD that had coerced confessions. Where was I? Oh, Foxx said growing up in Cabrini Green informed her policies and made her want to focus her efforts on helping people in similar communities, and she'll continue to do that even when she leaves office in 2024. So, Jerry, you wanted to comment on that?
Well, I kind of spoke to that a moment. I was saying a moment ago, but I don't want to Jerry explain anymore. So.
Oh, okay. We'll get to the next paragraph then. Quote, when I became state's attorney, I knew I had a mission and agenda that I knew I wanted to achieve, which was fairness, justice, and equity, and that kids who lived in neighborhoods just like mine could live to see another day, and not just live, but they could be lawyers and policymakers in the city that they call home, Foxx said. And I feel that I have done that. Foxx has led Cook County's prosecutors since 2016, pushing for and securing significant criminal justice reforms, but she's become the target of intense criticism from conservatives, with some blaming her for Chicago's crime woes, and she has also faced heat from Mayor Lori Lightfoot and police leaders. And those are related to stories we've covered here. I don't know how many it was. My memory is a Swiss cheese at this point, and now it's got taco meat jammed in there because it's Taco Tuesday. But there was more than 2. I know that much, Kathy. And there were just situations where we would read about these crime stories. Like, I think there was this dude who attacked. Attacked somebody on the subway. Was it?
Oh, you're talking. I was thinking about the guy who lit Joseph Cremelis on fire. I think he was.
There's that guy.
Yeah, he was out on. Yeah, he was a repeat offender that nobody understands why the fuck he was back on the streets to kill the walking man, the walking dude.
Yeah, so needless to say, we have a little bit of a grudge with repeat offenders ending up on the street. It doesn't mean that we're going to go out there and put a bat mask on and start hunting them down, but just saying.
And they're not all mostly new criminals either.
Yeah.
They're not all mostly new criminals. But again, this does have to do with the judges as well, and we've talked about that. So, it's a very complicated gray area issue. But I remember when she won, it was celebrated. Everybody was excited to have a black woman who understood and was empathetic to how racism plays into so many policies and public perception. But then again, it's like you got to still keep it even keeled. You can't just go all the way the other way where you see some violent offenders, not new offenders, back on the streets and in the mindset or in the effort to make sure that more people aren't put in prison because of the color of their skin. If you're violent, white or black, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you're violent, there's no these home monitoring programs that people would be put into, these second, third chance programs for violent offenders is what the problem was. And accepting the judge's ruling in that way, the prosecutor should not have accepted that.
Continuing the article. At the beginning of Tuesday's speech, Foxx noted she was not the state's attorney in 2016 when Chicago saw more than 700 homicides, the highest number since the bloody 90s. Homicides and violent crime fell in 2017, 2018, and 2019, Foxx's first 3 years in office, she said. That was before the lockdown.
Yeah.
So, to be fair, she says it doesn't add up to blame Foxx's office for the rise in violent crime, which coincided with the COVID pandemic. I don't know why they're calling it COVID-10.
I guess she had a lot.
Typo. But from the moment Foxx was inaugurated as a black woman from Cabrini Green, my presence was disruptive, she said. All right. Fair enough. There's definitely racists and sexists outgunning for a state's attorney. Okay. Let's see. What else was in here that's worth talking about here?
Well, there's an interesting paragraph there. Scroll up. Oh, stop. Okay, I'm sorry. Scroll up a little bit, but in particular, the other way.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. It says, but in particular, people who've struggled with Foxx's leadership have again and again pointed at the Smollett scandal. Yeah.
Oh, you mean?
Okay. I'm not suicidal. Okay.
I don't care.
Yeah, I don't know why the judge sounded like Tommy Lee Jones at the end there, but.
So Kathy says she wonders where she'll go. Good question, but who's got an eye on her job, which I think is fantastic? Joe Ferguson, former city inspector general. His name was bandied about on social media today.
Yeah, social media is having mixed feelings about Joe Ferguson.
Really?
Because apparently he had been advising Valis on some stuff.
Ah, interesting. I didn't know that.
But overall, I mean, he was one of the good ones in the city, though. He was talking. He had this. What was it? It was an interview he did where he was talking about how Chicago really needs a city manager, and that was part of why a lot of the mayors are having trouble getting stuff done, because they were trying to do it all on their own, and so much in need of having their fingers on everything that they wouldn't let have another guy to basically manage the basic city functions. And I don't know how much of that Lightfoot had delegated, but it seems to me that maybe she needed somebody to really handle a lot of that infrastructure stuff, because we know we're still having problems here. I can tell you for certain that there needs to be coordination with fixing all the potholes on the alternates to the Kennedy, because I have to keep finding a different way to get to the office every day. It's crazy.
And there's such an easy fix. All of the outgoing alder people who've retired or who've been indicted, start fill the potholes with them. I think
the alder people. Yeah.
I think Ed Burke would spread around really well.
I think he'd fill at least, a couple dozen.
Burger King.
Yeah, alder patches to the potholes. And then, they're quoting her, probably when I leave this earth, my epitaph will mention Jussie Smollett, and it makes me mad. Well,
she had something to do with it.
You could have said no to Kamala.
That's right. Exactly.
Hypothetically, if that's what happened. We don't really know what happened, but hypothetically, that's probably what happened.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, we don't know what happened, but it happened.
Exactly. The police aren't there to create disorder. They're there to preserve disorder. Old Man Daly said that. Oh, well, it says she recused herself from the case, but somehow she was still involved in that.
Of course she was.
So, what else?
And she really, you know what the thing is too, Ed? She could have really proven all of her detractors and her critics wrong had she not given Smollett special treatment. That would be
because honestly, that was the thing.
Dismiss your critics by saying you're right. This guy's not getting special treatment.
It's like she had every opportunity to keep doing all the good things that her office was doing without giving special favors to people to basically compromise her own position that way. And now she's basically angry about that.
So Kathy asks who pushed on her about Juicy. Isn't Kim Foxx friends with his aunt, who's also related to Kamala Harris? I forgot like the layers of nepotism there. But
yeah, there's some connection. There's connections there. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's all circumstantial. There's no paper trail to this, but there's just a lot of coincidences.
Coinkydinks.
And we talked about it when it was happening and when all that stuff came out. And when I dug up, how they were, how it was Kamala Harris and Cory Booker trying to pass the anti-lynching bill at just about the same time as he was doing this stunt, I said, that can't be a coincidence, can it? And then she comes out in social media, at least early on in social media, Kamala Harris had come out basically calling it a modern day lynching.
You know what it was, Ed?
She had to backtrack.
What does that mean, bitch?
So she backtracked her statement on that going forward. But I mean, we remember. Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Man, I could go for some Pepperidge Farm right now. Boy, howdy. So, yeah. I don't know what a Chicago syndrome symptom is, Kathy. We'll have to Google that later. What else? Yeah, I guess she talked about, who did she talk about? I'm missing. I think I jumped ahead.
Just read from the article. I mean, yeah,
I jumped too far.
Okay. Let's get past Smollier because we
all right, but critics who have focused on that haven't paid attention to the people Fox's work to free or the wrong she sought to undo, she said Tuesday. Jose Cruz spent almost 30 years in prison for what he believed would be a life sentence for a crime he didn't commit because he was framed by a corrupt Chicago police detective, she said. Foxx met Cruz as he was incarcerated last year, and he told her he hadn't done the crimes, she said. Just the day before, Foxx and her team had met to discuss Cruz's case, so she knew, even as they met in person, he would soon be going home, she said. Mr. Cruz spent his first Thanksgiving and Christmas at home last year, she said, but you want to ask me about see, she's bringing you up now. Just talk about the good stuff.
Yeah.
Foxx also pointed,
Yes, and I really commend her for that, what she did with Cruz. That's exactly what someone in her position of power should be focused on doing.
Yeah.
Not doing favors for washed up celebrities like Juicy Smollier. But
and again, we're spending way too much time on him too. It was one clearly one element of bad judgment out of a handful of pieces of bad judgment that she's made over her career as the state's attorney, but there are good things she's done. Foxx also pointed to the Anjanette Young case, saying she's struck by video of a naked Young as she pleaded for officers to let her put on clothing while they wrongfully raided her home. Our office did not wait for others to do the right thing, Foxx said. We implemented and changed our search warrant policy such that the state's attorney's office would not be complicit in having another Anjanette Young situation for which our office took part. But
so what does that mean? Did they issued a warrant that the cops followed? And I didn't realize that the prosecutor's office had a hand in how that was bungled.
It must have been a lax warrant policy, which sounds like she tightened up regarding stuff like that. So search warrants, or we see so much corruption in the city. It's kind of hard to know where to start as far as who's doing what and why. And, at least if you're going to do search warrants, get the information right. Go through the proper channels. Make sure that and should you be knocking down somebody's door in the first place? I don't know. I'm not sure where I'm going with that. Foxx said those cases and others she highlighted, like the wrongful convictions of Marilyn Mulero and Clarissa Glenn, showed what her work was focused on. These are not just policy differentials, Foxx said. These are people. These are not talking points for the left or the right. Foxx did not say what she will do next, though she said she has informed Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson she won't run for re-election. And I think that's enough.
Maybe what, Ed? I'm going to backpedal a little bit. Maybe she wasn't forced out. Maybe she realized that because of the controversies during her tenure, it would be a liability for Johnson, and she just decided, he didn't deserve to have people use her as a way to get at him. So if that's what ended up happening, I'll commend her for stepping down and allowing new leadership there, so that Brandon Johnson doesn't have to deal with his detractors using her as a way to get at him, which is wrong anyway. But we know how.
That's an interesting theory too. You could be right about that. If she's thinking, well, I'm tarnished now. I don't want to continue tarnishing the next mayor. Maybe that's.
She gave him an out. Maybe. She gave him the out that he didn't have to replace her, because there have been a lot of. That would have been an ongoing thing. I mean, and that's kind of punctuated by what I said I saw on social media. All of her critics, and the Chicago Contrarian, who've been very, very vocal about how much they disagreed with her leadership, she stepped down and they still can't accept it. They're still talking about what they were unhappy with. It's like, she's leaving. Move on. Take the win. Suggest
Yeah.
or start endorsing who you think Brandon Johnson should look at to fill that position to serve or to fulfill the concern that you have. Come up with solutions. Stop complaining all the time as we do. We're trying to find solutions. We're trying to propose them, but
it's tough. I mean, we're constantly surrounded by the corruption,
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Chicago.
Okay, what's next? I'll get into the tribe article for a little bit here. Let's do that. The tribe's always got good takes on things.
Yeah, they do.
And this comes from Tanya Hill and Jim Daly of The Tribe with 2 I's. Yes, I don't know why they spell it with 2 I's, but that's fine. Kim Foxx blazed a trail of progressive reforms in the state's attorney's office by Tanya Hill and Jim Daly. On April 25th, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx announced during a speech at the City Club of Chicago she would not seek re-election in 2024. Quote, at the conclusion of my term, November 2024, I'll be stepping down as state's attorney. I will not be on next year's ballot by my choice, Foxx told the room.
I would only recommend, Ed.
Yes.
Just jump ahead to like what the stuff that without.
Yeah, let's jump down to the.
Yeah. Because no, I sometimes get tripped up by that. Also, we have multiple articles that end up reiterating points that we've already shared. So let's the tribe's got a very interesting
They start basically quoting her press conference. You guys can find the full conference on all the local channels and watch that later.
We saw the highlights. So
let's see. Whoops. Okay, let me try and see if my scrolling skills work better if I'm hanging on to the scroll bar on the side. Okay. Before Fox's remarks, Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle, who Foxx worked under for 2 years, spoke at length about their work on criminal justice reforms and how Foxx continued that work when she became Cook County State's Attorney in 2016. She's led her office through one of the most turbulent and unprecedented times in recent history, with a global pandemic and national surge in gun violence, which has profoundly impacted our local communities, Preckwinkle said. During this time, she's focused on collaboration, community outreach, and transparency. Cook County is better because of her leadership, her partnership, and her commitment to working for justice in the pursuit of thriving, healthy, and safe communities across Cook County. Scroll down again. Okay. Foxx, who was raised by her mother and grandmother in Chicago Housing Authority's Cabrini Green on the near north side, obtained her law degree at Southern Illinois University. A survivor of childhood sexual assault, she worked in the Cook County Public Guardian's office before joining the Cook County State's Attorney's office, where she worked for 12 years as assistant state's attorney. Preckwinkle hired Foxx as a deputy chief of staff in 2013 and later promoted her to chief of staff. Okay. I'm getting mildly irritated by the scroll jump. It keeps jumping back to the top. Okay. Now here's the thing. Some of us remember that part of the reason that Foxx got into office in the first place was because of Anita Alvarez, who was the previous state's attorney. Anita Alvarez was basically complicit in covering up a number of things. And so let's read what how the tribe has addressed the situation. Anita Alvarez, the incumbent state's attorney for whom Foxx defeated in 2016 primary, had been the target of an activist campaign to remove her from office following 2 high-profile killings by Chicago Police Department officers. In a widely criticized move in 2013, Alvarez charged then CPD officer Dante Servin with the involuntary manslaughter for killing Rekia Boyd. He was acquitted. She was accused of covering up the CPD killing of Ronald Johnson in 2014. 2016, Alvarez waited more than a year to charge then CPD officer Jason Van Dyke for the murder of 17-year-old Laquan McDonald. 16 shots in a cover-up. Doing so only after video of the killing was made public. So yeah, this was a situation where anyone who was opposing Alvarez probably would have won.
But like we hoped with Lightfoot, we did see Kim Foxx as being a potential reformer,
Yeah.
a brighter light than what we'd seen before. So.
And aside from the handful of times when we've talked about how some of the judges setting bail or letting people out, and how she handled the Jussie Smollett case, it seems like she was making efforts to make real change.
Kathy had made a comment earlier. I don't think the prosecutor can overrule a judge. No, they can't, but they can be a lot more aggressive in influencing or
they can recommend the bail or not bail or whatever.
And there was a dereliction there that a lot of people were concerned about in too many cases with repeat violent offenders. So
and quite frankly, I feel that they should have denied bail to Vera Liddell until she told us what happened to the wings. But that's just me. We still don't know what's going on with Vera Liddell. I can't find any public information. Maybe we can get somebody who can look into that secret database that only the legal people are able to access to find out if we have any updates on what happened to those chicken wings. We just don't know.
Ed, I'm going to take a quick little personal break. I'll be right back.
Okay. And along those lines, I'll read a little more from the Tribe article here. Protesters demanding Alvarez's resignation launched a quote, Buy Anita campaign. Buy Anita on social media and in the streets. On Black Friday 2015, they closed down the Mag Mile by barricading store entrances with their bodies, and they held a 16-hour sit-in at the Cook County building the following month. They also created illustrated zines. Wow. Opposing illustrated zines, like little comic books. That takes a lot of effort there. Opposing Alvarez, that they distributed in neighborhoods, CTA buses, and other public spaces. While the activists did not expressly endorse Foxx, their organizing helped make Alvarez unelectable, setting the stage for Foxx's victory. And what else? Did I scroll too far? We were not there to say vote for this person or that. Foxx is a person who's going to fix everything, because our position was that we were against the prosecutor's office, period, Aislinn Pulley told the Tribe. But specifically, we needed to get Anita Alvarez out of the office. Now, okay, generally, if you have political goals to just get somebody out, but you don't have goals to get a specific person in, ask yourself, are you going to repeat the problem if you're not paying attention to who's getting in? I just want you to think about that. It can't just be vote them all out, but not pay attention to who's getting in. That's why I have a problem with that way of dealing with electoral politics. Get what I'm saying, Jerry? It's like they want to vote them all out, but then who are you voting in?
Yeah.
You can't just say anybody. Anybody will not do. You cannot do that, because then it's just gonna repeat the process over and over again.
Of course.
Because it'll just be, if Pegleg finds a way to actually possess a person's body long enough to run for mayor, Do you really want that guy putting chocolate milk factories all over the place? I mean, that's insane, right? But if you just say, oh, well, he's running against the bad people, so we got to get the bad people out, but we get Pegleg in there. Anyway, let's wrap up this article here because I think we want to move on to some other stuff. There's other
long show notes tonight.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
Okay. Yeah, let me see. What's worth talking about here? Okay. I wanted to. I wish I'd had more time to read this because I got a full-time job, so I only got a chance to read the first few paragraphs. But here we go. Under her watch, the CCSAO has vacated 114 convictions tied to Ronald Watts, a former CPD sergeant who led a crew of corrupt cops in terrorizing residents of the IDB Wells housing project in Bronzeville. Watts, who extorted people, lied under oath, and robbed drug dealers, was sentenced to 22 months in prison in 2013 after he pled guilty to robbing an undercover FBI officer. Man, this guy's a piece of work. Foxx also asked the court to vacate 8 murder convictions tied to disgraced CPD detective Reynaldo Guevara. Yeah, we reported on that. Who has been the subject of multiple wrongful conviction lawsuits that have cost the city more than $70 million. She has also expanded the CCSAO's convictions integrity unit, adding new positions specifically to scrutinize cases tied to disgraced CPD Commander John Burge. Yeah, so it's like this stuff and the exoneration project. So you can't just say that everything she's done was terrible or corrupt or anything like that. She had a handful of things that basically everyone focused on. But I don't know. Where do you think she's going to end up now? You think maybe she'll end up in the public defender's office or something, doing pro bono work, working for communities?
I doubt that.
It would be interesting to see where she ends up. Anyway, so I'm going to close that window. And let's move on to the next thing, which is, what is the next thing? Oh, yeah, we can give a little update here. Come on, buttons. Here we go, buttons. Some of you may be aware of the person known as John Greenfield. He writes for Streets Blog. He is an avid bike rider. He likes to advocate for better transportation options in the city and infrastructure that are friendly to public transit and bicyclists. And unfortunately, he was in an incident with his bicycle where, let me read the article because they get into that. So, cycling advocate and Streets Blog editor making great progress after crash downstate. Okay. So his website is streetsblog.org. If you feel like you want to support him and his recovery, they're asking fans to donate to his blog. So there he is. He takes these bike trips, these like bike tours and stuff, and he posts about them, and he posts a lot of really cool pictures on his social media. A prominent transportation rider was injured in a bike crash Friday in Southern Illinois, but friends and family are optimistic he will make a full recovery. That's good news. John Greenfield, co-founder and editor-in-chief, and also he's an avid anti-dibs guy. So he's against dibs.
He's got that going for him.
Yeah. So I gave him some crap about that on social media once. At least my parody account did. He's like, sometimes, what if it's an old guy who had to dig out his own spot and he puts the chair out there because he wants to make sure he can get back? I mean, he's not going to dig out 200 other people's spots.
No, but everybody digs out their own spots.
Yeah.
Then there are more spots for everybody to share when they come back and forth.
That's true. It does. I mean, seriously, when you guys see like a whole ton of snow coming down, just get out there if you can and help the rest of the community in your neighborhood dig everybody out. And do it for John Greenfield. He was riding his bike on the sidewalk in Marion, Illinois, when someone in a pickup truck passed him and a plastic pipe sticking out of the truck hit him, said his brother. The vehicle itself did not hit Greenfield, his brother said, clarifying earlier reports that stated he was hit by the truck. So the Tribune reports the driver was cited for having an unsecured load. Greenfield experienced head trauma and several of his ribs and clavicle broke. His doctors placed him in a coma most of Saturday as precaution for his head injury. His sedation was largely lifted Sunday, and he's breathing on his own. Every day he's a little more awake, his brother said. Yesterday, for the first time, he was able to respond to commands. He's having periods of vague awakeness. I have periods of vague awakeness sometimes, Jerry.
Kind of like right now?
Like right now. How's everybody in the live chat doing, by the way? We okay for Taco Tuesday? I know it's close to 9 o'clock, and I'm actually feeling kind of bad that we're running late because I know that I'm going to rewind and watch the Dr. Seuss stuff that Jesse Jet's doing on another channel later. But
I think the Taco Tuesdays put you into a food coma, Ed.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. I had too many tacos.
Too much taco before the show. Too many tacos before the show.
Yeah, so okay, that story's over. He's in recovery.
We wish him well.
Okay, we wish him well. Let's get to the next story.
Big stories, yeah. So a couple of the really big stories, follow-up stories.
Yeah, here's a follow-up.
Very relevant to everything we heard about this weekend. It was going to be anarchy again in the streets, and it didn't happen.
So yeah,
and we wonder why. Perhaps, well, I guess we'll get into it. I'll let you.
Yeah, it's from the Chicago Sun-Times. Violet Miller. Hundreds march in the loop to reach out to teens who caused chaos last weekend. People do care about them. Local leaders lauded Brandon Johnson's plan to revamp the city's summer jobs program and said their message was one of caring for young people they said the city had left behind. Now, before I get into this story, I just want to show you the headline from exactly the same story covered by another outlet.
Always interesting when we compare and contrast.
Now here's here's the Washington Examiner's headline. Chicago clergy, community leaders, and officers take to the streets to protest crime. Now that's not quite the same framing.
It's not. And actually, it's not reporting. It's editorializing.
Yeah. So jumping back over here. And you see, look, a bunch of people showed up. They care. You know, they're there to show that they care. Nearly 400 people, led by local clergy on Saturday, took to the streets. Come on, man.
This is a marvelous. This is a fantastic follow-up story, but I saw it only reported by a handful of news outlets. Basically, in the wake of everybody else predicting we were going to have another big disaster, which I don't think, Ed, I think the fact we didn't see a repeat Saturday of what happened the week before was because of all of the reports of people saying, why did the police stand down? And all of the speculation over, was this really a bunch of kids who planned this? Or could this have been manipulated by agent provocateurs, as we were speculating last week, to cause more chaos, to make it look bad on Lightfoot and incoming Mayor Brandon Johnson, to basically, I guess, culminate in everything the Fraternal Order of Police clown John Catanzara had predicted, chaos in the streets. I think I think what happened this weekend with these people coming out was just a fantastic rebuff. I wish more people paid attention to this. This isn't an angle. This is actually like a legitimate accounting of what went down. That was a good thing.
Yeah, so nearly 400 people led by local clergy on Saturday took to the streets of the Loop to offer their response to last weekend's chaos when hundreds of young people gathered downtown with some engaging in violent acts and harassment of people on the street. And yeah, we remember there was some assaults and other things. The roving groups tied up police resources, and 2 people were shot amid the mayhem. 15 people were arrested. A week later, organizers said their march was aimed at showing the city's youth that people care about them and that they are ready to offer them opportunities in the hope it will discourage teens from taking part in future social media-fueled takeovers and acting unruly.
If only we saw more of that angle on social media instead of everybody on Twitter, not everybody. Too many people on Twitter claiming that this is all about Black culture. This is what they want. No, it's not, you effing idiots. Start providing support. Start reaching out to kids and doing outreach so that, they're heard, that you're actually providing solutions.
And check out the link to the related story at the top of this screen right here from the Sun-Times. Chicago alderman blast police leaders, quote, flat-footed response to violent street takeovers. Yeah.
I like that quote. I love that quote in that second paragraph.
Okay, let me get there. Charlie Dates, senior pastor of Salem Baptist Church of Chicago and Progressive Baptist Church, cited community divestment, a gap in educational opportunities, and neighborhood violence as examples of the ways some children in the city have been left behind. Quote, for years now, there's been a narrative of an evil in our kids, Dates said. Chicago refuses to develop its greatest natural resources, our children.
Let's engrave that and put it on the front wall of City Hall downtown.
The march, made up of mostly of black men, stretched from Roosevelt Road to Wacker Drive on Michigan Avenue and ended at the steps in front of the Red Lily Tree of Liberty sculpture. Using my keyboard to scroll because my mouse is jumping all over the place when I try to do it that way. Okay. Lorenzo Beach, 28, said that he was asked to join the gathering by his pastor. As someone who works with young people, he felt it was important, quote, to show the youth that people do care about them, but also that some of the things they've been doing as of late, we don't stand for that. Beach runs a weekly mentoring group for youth near his home in Bronzeville, where he said he, quote, has, quote, seen the struggle that young people in his and other communities face. If they were to see this en masse, maybe they'll change, he said. The police presence at Millennium Park was less heavy Saturday than it was the night before, when the department flooded the area with officers. Even as many visitors didn't seem aware of last weekend's events or know why so many police were around. Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson's newly appointed chief of staff said Friday he had worked with police officials to prepare, including having, quote, additional teams on site, undercover police personnel on site, just a lot more coordination, after the department was criticized for having appeared to have been caught off guard. Yeah, caught off guard, right. More like chose not to respond. We covered a story.
We're insubordinate. Decided to engage in dereliction of duty, which actually ended up endangering more people's lives downtown.
Yeah, there was a story
because
about
of
a couple
politics
that got assaulted, and the cop cars just rolled by.
All because of politics, because the Fraternal Order of Police has given their rank and file their marching orders to stand down because they want to make Brandon Johnson look bad, and they want to continue this narrative that there's going to be blood in the streets. And you know what? They're basically helping enable that by not doing their jobs. And to people who were saying, oh, well, they're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. If they started cracking heads, then they'd be, accused of being racist and abusing their power. You don't escalate. Okay, there's a way to deal with it without escalating it properly. To stand by or just drive by and not do anything is not what they're supposed to do. It doesn't mean they're supposed to crack heads and start, violently beating people up or shooting at people in the streets. There is a happy medium somewhere in the middle. But, people are going to continue to make excuses for CPD also that have got other agendas of their own. I'm just so fed up with it all. Ed. I'm just like,
yeah. All right, I think that's enough for this article. Let's see what's the other thing to talk about here. Oh yeah, let me get to this one finally, and see if this thing will play for me without hitting an ad first. Damn you! Damn you! All right, okay, we'll get there. Hang on, ladies and gentlemen. We're almost there. Wait. It would help if I turn the audio on for this, wouldn't it?
Some people who worked on Paul Vallis's failed campaign for mayor say they still have not been paid.
wow.
Really?
$75 checks, Ed. People can't cash checks for $75. He's bouncing checks. That's why he wants his $700,000 back. He should have thought about that before he paid Enya $700,000 to go put up and take down lawn signs, don't you think?
Yeah, you would think that a guy whose entire campaign was all about how he knows how to run businesses and manage funds and stuff wouldn't be having this problem.
Fiscal management. My ass.
They gathered today in front of a building that had been used as a Vallis campaign office. The former workers showed copies of checks from the Vallis campaign that they say bounced, costing them bank fees.
Jesus Christ.
Paul, stop playing basketball with your checks and pay these workers that's been by your side day after day, making you look good. This is
now, ironically,
look good.
Ironically,
the Vallis campaign says they're making good on the checks to the workers and vendors, and they're blaming a contractor whom the campaign sued last week.
Do you like this? They're blaming the fact that they gave money to Enya,
whose sister was bouncing checks when she ran with campaign workers last election. That's a matter of public record. There was I think they called them the Chicago 11 or something. There were 11 employees that banded together on social media who were owed a lot of money. But everybody does it.
If these people were contracted separately from Enya, if Enya was not connected with being responsible for paying them for anything, then this is just dumb, because he's trying to pit his contractors against each other for the reason why they're not getting paid.
Right. Well, here's another interesting thing, Ed. It's my understanding that Vallis took out the $100,000 that he originally put into his campaign fund. He took back what
he put it in, and then he took it right back out
before paying his campaign workers. That's the piece of shit Paul Vallis is. And I'm going to say that. Piece of shit. Didn't care about his campaign workers who believed in him and committed to him. He took his $100,000 back first after paying Enya $700,000 to go destabilize the South and West Side neighborhoods, trying to take down signs, as well as there was also something in one of these articles that Enya was put in there to basically also somehow influence less black voter turnout. That was in one of the articles that I read. So, yeah, there he is.
There we
Great
go.
Cornholio.
Yeah. I just figured, we don't need this guy on the screen anymore.
Yeah, right. Looks like, the look on that face, Ed. That's when you fuck around and find out.
Yeah, I'm wondering if any of the checks to him bounced.
Well,
probably not.
Yeah,
I
doubt it.
For nearly $800,000, alleging the contractor took the money but performed little work.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with the other people who he owes money to? Nothing.
Yeah, they're blaming. Yeah, it's crazy. They're blaming Enya instead of Vallis's fiscal mismanagement.
Yeah,
or not prioritizing those who did the most amount of work for him. $700,000 to one guy, and all these other people who were probably paid far less can't even collect what pittance he owes them.
Yeah. So as this story was coming out, the People's Fabric on Twitter says, in a new motion filed yesterday in Vallis's lawsuit against a campaign consultant, they're talking about Enya. We learned that Vallis, who repeatedly touted his decades of budgetary expertise, needs the money back because other campaign checks are now bouncing.
That is a reflection on how he would have completely taken us off the cliff here in Chicago, with all of his campaign donors driving whatever he was going to do to just enrich themselves, not actually serve the city.
Yeah,
serve Chicagoans.
So that's and speaking of the People's Fabric, here they are talking about our good buddy Ray
Verdoliak 2.0.
Yeah, Ray Wheelberry. I'm sorry, Ray Loatmeal.
Dude, can I tell you something? Also, that doesn't look like oatmeal in there.
Yeah, well, you can blame Ray. That's how he makes his oatmeal. Dude, it's like oatmeal soup. It's so watery.
But Brandon's water bill. Thank you, Half Clever. Exactly. Boy, did we dodge a bullet with Vallis.
Yeah. So it says Lopez begs for leniency for a fellow alderman who was convicted of fraud and lied to the feds. Yet he wants minimum $1,000 fines given to teens and their families for things like attending house parties, drinking, or possessing cannabis.
This guy is an authoritarian piece of shit.
And
I struggle for like how do you describe too. Oh, isn't he? I'm just going to share what I talked with Ed about prior to the show. Generally, when we talk about identity, Lopez is gay. Could care less. But
I didn't even know, and I don't care.
Yeah, and I don't care. But you'd think that somebody who is gay, who probably had to deal with all kinds of prejudice and marginalization and dismissal, and in his own life, wouldn't be as authoritarian with other people, especially these kids, right? Big proponent of Alderman Burke. Literally lionizing him, trying to give Ed Burke his own day. What was it on Inauguration Day? They wanted to make it Ed Burke Day. He props up criminals. He's a scoundrel. He props up political criminals, but he wants to come down harsh on those that actually need some kind of support. And what I mentioned a moment ago is because we thought the same thing with Lightfoot. We thought that people who've been marginalized would be more empathetic and sympathetic to the plight of others who are marginalized. And it turns out, Ed, it's very curious. I see this a lot. They're amongst the most authoritarian who forget about their own struggles and what they've dealt with while they decide to exact authoritarian policies against others.
Yeah. And it's, what do I got here? Yeah. Let me put this in. I thought we would take a couple of seconds to look at Ray Lopez's Twitter feed because it's
shameful.
Here he is. He's retweeting Christine Flores from WGN. She's posting a overhead camera photo of a Chicago police station where there's a number of migrants being sheltered, and clearly there's a problem with the city coordinating efforts to make sure that people have the proper support, especially since we want to be the sanctuary city.
He doesn't.
And he doesn't,
no.
But he's basically calling it out. But he says, this is what asylum looks like in Chicago. It is utterly shameful. All the politicians that jump for a headline, but abandon those in need. But it's not like he's going to do anything about it.
What's his solution? He doesn't have a solution.
Because otherwise he would say what he is doing on his end to try and fix this problem. He doesn't care about fixing it. He just wants to point it out.
He wants to take advantage of it for his own agenda.
And he's been doing this constantly. There's another one. Here's one. He's giving crap to a tortilla factory in the back of the yards for apparently having an issue with their sanitation or their trash pickup. Well, the city probably should be dealing with that one too.
Contact streets and sand, buddy. You're in a
Yeah,
position
give him
of
a phone
leadership.
call, Ray.
Do something about it.
And here he is saying sanctuary in a bathroom with a baby on the floor, shameful. What? Yeah, but are you going to do anything about it, or are you're just going to wag your finger at the rest of city council while not actually acting to try and make this?
What was his
better?
policy on the migrants that were sent to Chicago? I'm curious to know. Did he propose any solutions, or did he decide to demonize them too?
I don't
Looking
know.
that up right now.
But he's continually retweeting Christine Flores, but not in a way to highlight something because he wants to solve it. He just wants to highlight it to basically make other older people look bad.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, what are you going to do about this? What are you doing to help make this situation better, Ray Lopez? Besides not taking enough time to make your oatmeal in the morning. I don't know. I just thought, look at his Twitter account and see what the hell he's doing, and it was worse than I thought it was going to be. So there's that. What else?
He was on Newsmax telling Newsmax that Lightfoot and the feds failed on immigrants. Okay, so what was his solution? I'm not seeing it here in the Newsmax article.
He's not going to say he has one.
No. I'm looking right now to be fair. I want to see if there was one, or if again it just supports what you're saying here. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is what Lopez told Newsmax that whether one agrees with what Abbott is doing, the blame itself must lie with the federal government and its inability to secure the nation's border. He just wants to shut them all out.
So in other words, he wants to do nothing.
All right.
Because the federal government could do a whole lot more than just build a wall, Ray Lopez. They have the federal purse. They could create funds to support any type of program to help people, whether it's migrants or citizens of the United States, whether it's funding national health care system, making sure that everybody's got food.
I got it here. Migrants equal crime. We can't allow this to continue as it has for nearly 30 years, unchecked and unresolved, where both parties have failed, said Lopez. Both parties have shown no resolve to try to address this matter that's going to inundate cities like Chicago, inundate states like Texas with issues that the federal government has the resources and ability to fix. Further, allowing migrants to enter the country illegally is not fair to not only those who are citizens, but those who have gone through the immigration process in the proper way, trying to get the paperwork, trying to wait their turn. Lopez, are you turning any of your criticism towards the businesses and companies that don't want to pay Americans a fair living wage, that are routinely hiring the migrants from other countries to work for slave wages? Bet he's not doing that. There are also safety concerns for citizens of Chicago because of immigration. We cannot continue to play the political theater and games that we see from Democrats and Republicans, said Lopez. When we look at the crime on our streets, you have to start by supporting those who are in the line, who are the line between criminals and the good people of Chicago. And who's that, Ed? Our law enforcement, police officers, he added, promising to support them 100% so that we can show consequences for actions in our city. Ray Lopez, the little authoritarian, and his wheelbarrow of oatmeal. Can't stand him. Can't stand him. Odious.
Next story. As Northwest Side loses 223 low-cost apartments, advocates say Chicago needs better affordable housing laws. Yeah, no kidding. Or just give people homes. Affordable units at the Pavilion Apartments are switching to market rate after a low-income tax program subsidizing the apartments expired. It mimics a national trend of potential displacement. Now, they are kicking themselves in the dick, and I don't know if I should make that an ongoing phrase for every show I appear on.
Shooting themselves. Yeah,
okay.
Right.
All right.
Because usually it's shooting yourself.
I didn't know if you saying shooting was going to get us demonetized.
No, I don't think so.
No, okay. All right. They're shooting themselves in the dick when they continually raise rents and the cost of living.
Miguel H. had a late little check-in with Lopez. Yeah, privileged people talking about fairness, Miguel. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's see. Pavilion Apartments is cutting out its affordable units, even as the far northwest side already has few affordable options for renters. Look, if people can't afford to live here, they can't work in the area, they can't support your building, you're going to have a ghost town building, and then what are you going to do? The 1114 unit complex at 5441 Northeast River Road planned to have 223 affordable apartments. And I still have a problem with the term affordable, by the way, because what they think is affordable is probably not affordable. But now it's really not affordable. As it became part of the federal low-income housing tax credits program in 1994. Now, why would, if that's another federal program that Congress just decided to let lapse because they don't give a crap about us?
Yeah, Art makes a good point. This is actually another sign of how terrible times will get. So many cannot afford housing that our generation won't have homes. There will be the rise of shanty towns like in the Depression. Yeah, with all of these big conglomerates also buying up housing everywhere for cash that people can't afford to get into mortgages because the banks just want to sell houses for cash and not allow people to get into mortgages to own something.
Yeah. Move comes as housing has become more expensive and many are struggling with housing insecurity. Local advocates are urging officials to do more to protect low-income housing, particularly on the far northwest side, which already lacks affordable options. Yeah, they keep saying that. Marking up prices on what were affordable units can price people out, especially older people and people with disabilities. Monica Dillon, founder of Northwest Side Homeless Outreach, works with older people and homeless people in the area to find housing. When she approached the pavilion about the affordable units, she was shocked to hear they were no longer available, she said. This is not good for the future of the ward, Dillon said. How do we recover 223 units? The federal tax credits program, which started in 1986, gives property owners tax breaks while they offer affordable housing. It developed more than 2 million affordable apartments or homes and represented nearly 1/3 of all newly constructed multifamily rental housing in its first 20 years. Now, I know some of these building owners are more concerned about their profits dipping than actually worried about making sure all their units are filled. You better do the math on that, guys. Do you want all those units left empty? I don't think you do. The pavilion began providing affordable apartments for renters earning below 60% of the area median income in 1994. Although its contract was set for 30 years, it's able to end it early due to a technicality. Oh, so they're not even... Okay. That's kind of a dick move. Now the majority of people living in those units have relocated to 2 Brookfield properties in the Loop or moved out, though 19 have remained at the pavilion, company officials said. Residents were notified in 2018 about the pending rent changes and received at least 4 months' notice, company officials said. There are 29 Chicago Housing Authority voucher holders in the building, though the CHA is separate from the tax credit program, said agency spokesperson Matthew Aguilar. See, is this another story I'm reading? This is just the second part of the story. Aldermanic influence on the affordable housing. Affordable housing on the far northwest side has long been a contentious topic in an area with little government-supported low-income housing. In the O'Hare neighborhood, only 20% of housing is affordable to households earning 60% of the area median income or less, compared to 36% citywide, according to a 2019 citywide analysis. I'm sure because it's a 2019 analysis, that's probably worse now. Since then, there has been little, if any, progress in getting more subsidized housing for low-income older people and people with disabilities. A luxury apartment project by Glenstar Properties with nearly 300 apartments, 59 affordable, set to be built, close to the pavilion is on hold due to the housing market changes. Arturo says, if you gave landlords a tax break on their properties if they allow elderly tenants to pay lower rent. It sounded like he was answering a question. Okay. What else? Yeah, at this point, I don't even know if I want to read the rest of this. It's basically, it's bullshit, is what it is.
Yeah.
It's more housing bullshit. It's annoying. But yeah, so let's shift gears a little bit. Let's get into really quick. The Commuters Take Action, CTAaction.org, has a survey that they are having right now. There's a link in the show notes about bus rapid transit. And for some of you that don't know, bus rapid transit essentially is they're just setting aside areas of the infrastructure, the roads, specifically so buses can travel faster. And so that would, I mean, it's going to require quite a bit of infrastructure modification to make that work in the city. But they have a poll asking you your opinions on that. So if you want to take the poll, head over to ctaaction.org/BRT for bus rapid transit and take the poll. Here, oh, they actually describe it here. Okay. In many ways, bus rapid transit works less like a bus and more like a CTA train. A few key features of BRT. Fares are paid when entering the station before boarding the bus. Buses have their own protected lane, so they are unaffected by traffic. Stops are placed every quarter to half mile. Traffic signals are calibrated to turn green or stay green when a bus approaches. BRT approaches the efficiency of CTA rail, which, well, the former efficiency of CTA rail, as we should say, with an average expected speed of 16 miles an hour compared to 21 miles per hour on the red line.
I wonder where these new proposed lanes are going to go, Ed.
They listed
with bike lanes taking up so many of the other lanes that are usually that were originally there for motorized vehicles.
I think there's a section where they talk about that, but when I took the poll, I think it was yesterday, I took the poll, and they were asking about Western Avenue and Ashland and a couple other main streets. So, I mean, depending on how they do it, it could be helpful, but we don't know what kind of impact it's going to have on drivers. And so, I think I would lean toward supporting it, just because I think this city would benefit greatly from better public transportation in general, just to make sure that they properly support public transportation. So if a rapid transit bus system is going to alleviate some of the traffic issues that we're having, because maybe some people who currently take cars would alternately take a rapid transit bus, maybe it's worthwhile. And that's that section of the story. What's next on the never-ending show notes, Ed? Well, I'm glad you asked, Ed. Chicago Department of Cultural Affairs and something. Excellent. I don't remember what the acronym is for. They're taking idea submissions for the 2023 Neighborhood Access Program, which is a grant program. So if you want to go to what do they call it? ChicagoCulturalGrants.org. And you want to find the one for the Neighborhood Access Program. If you have a good idea, for a project that supports for a project in the city or a project that supports some type of cultural thing related to the city might pay for it if your idea is good enough. So that's worthwhile. And also, if you head over there, they have other grant programs too. I don't know what the qualifications are, but there's individual artist grants. There are some small business grants. Sometimes you have to be a nonprofit, but other times it's just an individual grant. And if you get in when they have the application times, I think the individual grants for this year are already passed. I think that was a couple months back.
They actually extended the deadline. Kathy Power shared the deadline extension with us, and I put through an application for Chicago Corner.
Oh, great.
Performing arts media operation.
Yeah, I know. I benefited from a DCASE grant during the lockdown. I'm an artist, and they had a pandemic relief type grant for people, and that was worth taking advantage of. So free money is free money, right? If your state or city has programs like grants like that, it's always good to find out about them and take advantage of them.
Absolutely. Even if asking the city for a grant is like asking for a dream to get crushed. Yeah, that's true.
Sure.
I applied for several that never came through. So
yeah, but if you have the same dream, you can just copy and paste over and over again until one of them actually sends you a check.
That's true.
So what else is there in this show notes? Oh yeah, there's this thing which I think is really weird.
This is a job for Carl Kolchak.
Yes, the Night Stalker. Chicago man charged after bringing dagger-like vampire straw through TSA. This comes from Michigan Live, and here it is. This is a picture of the straw. It's just a metal straw, which could also be used as a defensive weapon, or theoretically an offensive weapon.
I am imagining that this is probably designed for fruit, coconuts, pineapples, any kind of fruit that
or just punching through any beverage pouch.
It's metal means it's meant to puncture something hard on like a plastic straw that's got a similar design but is breaching, like a foil that's easier to puncture.
Yeah, it's like, what did you expect when you decided to ban plastic straws? People coming up with other solutions like this one. But here's the story here from Heather Morrison.
Art has an idea.
A 26-year-old man is facing charges after police said he attempted to bring a self-defense item known as a vampire straw through airport security in Boston Sunday. Around 5:40 p.m. Sunday, police were called because the TSA said they had found a titanium. Ooh, it's titanium. Cool.
It could be used as a weapon.
Yeah. Titanium vampire straw inside a pouch in the passenger's backpack. Purchased from a company that is not sponsoring us. The vampire straw is both a drinking straw and a self-defense item that can be carried in a cup without attracting attention. Massachusetts State Police.
Not necessarily. Okay. If we're talking about it now.
Designed for self-defense, the vampire straw is super tough and long enough to be used like a dagger.
Or drink blood.
Yeah, or drink if you're a if you're a vampire and you need easy access, you gotta get your vampire straw. Now available for $19.95 plus shipping and handling.
That's why I said Carl Kolchak should be on this story.
Its chiseled tip is sharp enough to puncture most synthetic materials, the website states. The vampire straw is also a very effective tire deflator. Yeah, give them ideas, man. And can be carried in a cup in public without attracting attention. From a cup, a vampire straw is very easy to deploy in reverse grip and put into action almost instantly. Chicago man was arrested and charged with carrying a dangerous weapon, police said. TSA suggested to pack these items in your checked bag.
Everything is a dangerous item. Your shoes are dangerous items. Your belt's a dangerous items. Pretty soon they're going to start saying your underwear is a dangerous item because you can go into the restroom, take it off, bring it out, and use it to strangle someone. Okay? It's all about senses of security is all it's about with these TSA people.
So vampire straws are tough and long enough to be used as a dagger, TSA said. Hence the reason they are not allowed in the cabin of the aircraft. Okay, fair enough. But what happens if there's a vampire in the aircraft?
Dude, you could use your keys in an aircraft to go puncture somebody's jugular if you wanted to. Are they going to start preventing people from carrying keys?
What if they come at you with the pointed stick?
You kick them in the nuts. You kick them in the nuts, and everybody converges and takes them down. That's what you do. Are we just such a nation of absolutely impotent, unable to respond? One single threat on an airplane, someone gets up and causes trouble, they're asking for trouble because everybody will converge on them and take them down like that. No one's going to put up with any of this kind of shit after what it was suggested happened on 9/11 with everybody standing down on those flights. People are sick and tired of people threatening other people, and they will respond in kind.
Yeah. For those of you unaware, the pointed stick reference, that was a Monty Python reference. There's this self-defense class sketch where it's like, where he starts out like, what do you do when your assailant is armed with a banana? And then he just goes down with different pieces of fruit and stuff. And then the people who are taking the course finally go, but what about if he comes at you with a pointed stick? And then he gets all angry and he's like, okay, come at me with a pointed stick. And then he comes at him with a pointed stick and the guy pulls the gun out and shoots. That's what happens. See, otherwise you just do normal self-defense against fruit. Like bananas. I know. I'm dragging this show so far into the ditch, Jerry.
No, you're not. Yeah. It's just I think we need to pick up the pacing a little bit.
Okay, we're rolling through it.
Okay.
Yes. I want to say rest in peace in your ethereal banana boat, Harry Belafonte, who passed away today.
Lived a long life, long good life of not only celebrity but activism as well.
Yeah, and I had actually I did there is a tweet from Nick Estes of the Red Nation podcast, and because everybody and their brother is reporting about Harry Belafonte, but they're not going to talk about that Harry Belafonte was a fierce critic of U.S. imperialism, called for nuclear disarmament, backed the Cuban and Bolivarian revolutions, and pushed for the freedom of indigenous political prisoner Leonard Peltier. Rest in power, he says. And I was like, yeah, the dude was really, I mean, he was an activist first and he was an actor and singer second, kind of. He even felt he was that way.
He was very outspoken in ways that a lot of people didn't pay attention to. Because, actors don't have a right to have opinions.
Yeah. And also, I thought this was an interesting little outtake here, and I think we'll be okay if we play a few seconds of this once I get past the ads here.
Don't be so sure, but I will definitely appeal it.
But it's when they were doing the We Are the World video, which I think Harry Belafonte was instrumental in helping to organize. They had a little time out between the actual performance and filming, and you got all these famous singers in a room.
All in all, Quincy and the group worked for about 4 hours that night until nearly 2 a.m., recording all the necessary parts to complete the song's tightly woven chorus. Just before the chorus broke up, there was this spontaneous tribute to Harry Belafonte.
And they go on, and they're like harmonizing, and they keep singing and all that stuff. And this is one of my favorite songs from Harry Belafonte, but not just because of that, but because the song got parodied by a guy who was famous in the early years of radio comedy named Stan Freberg. And Stan you'll have to look it up. It's Freberg, Stan Freberg. Look that up on YouTube and look for the Banana Boat song version that he does with the cartoon that this artist did along with it, because it's funny as hell and it's awesome because it's a great tribute to Harry Belafonte.
It was also featured prominently in Beetlejuice, wasn't it? The movie.
Yes, it was also featured in Beetlejuice with the possession scene. Yeah. So yeah, that's totally worth. I don't know if I should play any more of this. We're getting at 9.
We got the idea. I mean,
we got the idea. Although we are pretty much at the end. I think we're at the end of the show notes at this point. So
hopefully we won't get a strike on that. But if we do, we don't have to prolong it with playing the music any longer.
Yeah. So once again, rest in peace, Harry Belafonte. And finally, we can mention on Thursday, Big Picture Chicago is doing their April showcase at the
Patio Theater.
The historic Patio Theater at 8,000 something West Irving Park Road.
Do we want to bring up the Facebook page so people can see?
Yeah. So let me pull that up really quick here. So Big Picture Chicago and their April showcase is so tickets are $5 at the door, or they have a link to their tickets on their Facebook page at facebook.com/Big Picture Chicago, or you can look at the show notes. I got a link there too. So you can buy them ahead of time, or you can buy them at the door.
Featuring shorts from Harry Waldman, Lomai, Stephen Haas, BJ Wilson, Nick Foreman, Sean Graves, Rob Merritt, Molly Ruffner, Ashley Leaston, Jeffrey Enwhistle, and more. We were going to have Ryan and one of the filmmakers on tonight. Unfortunately, that didn't end up happening, but we are going to feature and interview filmmakers last Tuesday of the month. Hopefully, we'll be able to resume that segment next month. It's just there was a scheduling conflict tonight. Otherwise, we would have spent more time on this.
Yeah, and did we mention? I think they're going to show one of your shorts there too.
One of my shorts? I don't wear shorts.
One of your features. What do we call those things?
No, it's a short. I was making
one of your films.
I was making a joke about I don't wear shorts. They're gonna feature one of my 48-hour film projects as well. I was happy. Ryan said to me when we were going to bring him on the show with the filmmaker, he said, "Oh yeah, we're going to show Protected," and I'm like, I didn't even know. I'm like, where did he get it from my Vimeo channel? But I actually shared some of my movie links, short film links with him. I think 6 months ago. So it was nice to hear that he found one of my 48-hour film projects worthwhile to show in this Thursday showcase. So that's cool. It's an older short film comedy that I did when I lived in Los Angeles, but the focus should be on the local Chicago filmmakers whose shorts are also going to be featured that I mentioned.
Oh, that's right, because you don't wear them.
Because I don't wear them. I don't wear shorts. Go commando. Okay. Enough of that.
Enough of that.
Too much information.
So I think we're going to call it.
Speaking.
Should we jump into the live chat before we head out the door here?
Sure.
Okay.
What's going on over there?
All right. Arturo says it's a Coke straw.
Oh, I popped those up way ahead of you, Art. I mean, Ed, while you were doing the stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
I was regularly popping up comments as you were reading.
Okay. Let's see. Yes, Kathy knows about the "We Are the World" thing. She says
It might be Miguel, but it's much more comfortable.
She said, "We are the world." There we go. Harry Belafonte, representing the USA for Africa musicians, visited Sudan in the same month. The trip was his last stop on a 4-nation tour of Africa. Cool. All right. And then Warren's still in the chat for a few minutes, although I know I want to hop over to Jesse Jett in a little bit because he's reading Dr. Seuss books.
Cool. We invited, I think Ed in the beginning of the show invited Warren to join us, but I think he just needs some time off. So Warren, we'll look forward to bringing you back on the show soon.
Yeah, we're happy to have you on to impart your insight to us, sir, at any time that's convenient to you. And we'll check in with the rest of you on Friday evening at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, where Jerry is going to be piloting the USS Chicago Corner, and hopefully we're back up to full warp power by then. I think we are.
Yeah, and we will have a special guest joining us. Aviance Cobb, who's a friend of the show, will be on to speak about her podcast. I believe it's a podcast. I saw her post something on her social media, and I'm like, is this your podcast? Is this your media? And if it is, you want to come on the show and talk about it, share what it's all about. So she'll be on Friday. I just have to set up the details with that. But we will have a special guest on Friday night, so tune in for that. Oh, here we are. Wait a minute. I'll give you a little bit more of a tease. So Aviance's website, the Holy Breath podcast, that's what she'll be coming on to talk about, the Holy Breath podcast. So check that out in advance. And looking for the link. Did I get a link from her? Let me look real quick.
We could put it in the show notes on Friday.
Yeah,
we don't need it tonight.
Yeah, we don't need it right now, but yeah.
So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to stay hydrated, and that means drinking plenty of fluids. Fluids are important. Take care of each other. Look out for one another, and eat pizza once in a while.
And stand by for the spanking new, polished, glossy show outro.
Oh, yeah, we're totally going to do that.
Fuck this noise, man.
I should have added that to the outro. Maybe I will.
Good night, everybody.
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. If you would like to be a guest on Chicago Corner, please email our host, Jerry, at chicagocorner.tv.